The home of the common Joe and the common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking heads. Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody. That's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of that old Road Dogg Jesse James entrance in the old WWE days from the New Age Outlaws. It's like just when you think you have everything figured out and know what the Captain Obvious choices will be for conference realignment, which has been a hot topic ever since Oklahoma and Texas left. It's been the thing that everybody's talked about during the offseason, seems like for the past 2 or 3 years. But some reports are coming out of Athens magazine that there may be some major shakeups coming in the next few weeks that were sort of unexpected. Something maybe down the road, maybe, but seems like it may be coming sooner than we think. Let's talk about it. Dun, dun, dun. Another one bites the dust up. Dun, dun, dun. That's what it feels like. Every offseason, it seems like a conference is biting the dust on the membership. First, it was the Big 12 with Oklahoma and Texas, and now it's been the Pac-12 the last 2 seasons. According to Athens magazine, there may be some more major shakeups coming that we may not have expected too much. But before we get to all that, I'd like to say that we got another member for the Outlaw Posse. That's right, the Outlaw Posse continues to grow by leaps and bounds. And today, coming on in, mounting up, saddling up, getting his badge and getting deputized today is Squidwater. That's right, Squidwater is now part of the Outlaw Posse, and he'll help us with these invasions each and every week through the periodically Four Horsemen shout out. And today's Four Horsemen helping us with this invasion are as follows: Rick Birdwell, Shane Moore, Zach Hamner, and Chicken 1515 mounted up and saddled up and ready to go. So had 2 generous donations to the program, a huge donation from Lee Barden of $20 and the Rhino 26 with $100. Appreciate the hell out of those donations, guys. They keep me up and going and keep me motivated. Now, getting right to it here. Seems like seems like the Big Ten may have some big plans. From what Athens is saying, not only are they going to try to go out there and get Oregon and Washington before the Big 12 can get their hands on them and effectively kill the Pac-12, which they keep trying to say that they don't have the blood on their hands, when we all know that you took the real big shot at them when you took USC and UCLA. But we won't get into all that. What we will get into is the fact that now they look like they may be trying to put the SEC on their heels for a change. You know, the SEC has been the forefront of expansion since 1992 when they started with Arkansas and South Carolina. The Big Ten followed them with Penn State, and then later on they added 3 with Nebraska, Rutgers, and Maryland after the SEC had added Texas A&M and Missouri. And then just here recently, Texas and Oklahoma. And then what does the Big Ten do? They follow the SEC once again, and they snag USC and UCLA. Now I think the Big Ten is trying to get a little smart about it and say, hey, let's be the first one. Let's take the initiative. Let's be the first one that shakes up the college football world like the SEC. And they just got a $1 billion contract from their media rights deal. So they've got the money to do what Athens is alluding to. Athens is basically alluding to the fact that they may try to break that grant of rights with just basic money. And they got billions and billions of dollars. If you look at the big picture of things, yeah, sure, they'd lose some money short term, but if they went out there and were the one to break that grant of rights for the ACC and get the best of the ACC before the SEC, all these acronyms are killing me, then I think that'd be a smart thing. I'm not sure who their new commissioner is. Y'all can fill me in on that, drop in the comments section. I know Kevin Warren's snaky ass has done left, but they're saying that they might go after Florida State and Clemson. And that's a big, huge surprise to me. I mean, I've heard Florida State to the Big Ten, but I've never heard Clemson to the Big Ten. They don't have that little elitist paper tiger farce AAU status at Clemson, but they could get it. Everybody's getting it now. Even Notre Dame got it. We know Notre Dame is not a research institution. Not like that anyway. I think Miami's got it. I think Florida State's trying to get it. Clemson could get it. Hell, Bluefield State in West Virginia could get it. Hell, they could probably go over to the Japanese American Football League, like my buddy Killer Breeze likes me to talk about all the time, and get the Nagasaki egg rolls and the Tokyo crab cakes. Give them AAU status. But I'm getting off topic here, just taking a few shots at the Big Ten because I sort of like to do that every now and then. But if they got Florida State and Clemson, to me, that would be a direct shot at the SEC to say, hey, we're taking the two teams that you want the most. Which I'm not sure that's the two teams they want the most. It is the top three, though. I think the SEC and both the Big Ten covet North Carolina more so. I think Athens may be off just a little bit with the whole Clemson thing. But the Florida State thing they could be right on point with. But if they were to get Florida State and Clemson, that would definitely shake up the college football world and put the Big Ten up there as the premier conference. Much to my chagrin in the SEC, we'd have to admit that they, at that point, if they went and got Oregon and Washington, they would have 4 teams out west for a western branch. And then if they come down here in the South, which they've never been able to do to this point, they would definitely be the best conference nationwide, literally and figuratively, especially if they get in the Florida market. They may take Miami too. Now, if they were to go in there and try to break that grant rights with money, ESPN, who owns the rights to the ACC contract, may get smart. I'm not banking on it because they've done some stupid shit here lately, but if they're smart, they would get with the SEC, pull their resources, and it still may not be enough to match the Big Ten, but it might be to the point where they could talk some of these teams into joining the SEC first because it's more of a geographical fit and more of a culturally fit, which people try to throw out there all the time. It's the biggest bogus word of all time. I hate even saying it. It makes me almost want to have word vomit. But if the Big Ten were able to break that grant rights with the billions of dollars that they have, the SEC would definitely be on their heels. And the SEC needs to try to get ahead of the curve again, in my opinion. If this is going to go down, them and ESPN, like I said, they need to get together, pool their resources, and try to at least get the top 2 that the SEC wants, which in my opinion would be Florida State and North Carolina. But it may be Florida State and Clemson. The Big Ten, on the other hand, if they were to come in there and get Florida State and Clemson, they may be able to get Miami as well and North Carolina. If the Big Ten were to get those 4 brands, they would definitely put the SEC on notice, the Big 12 on notice, and everybody on notice. Because those will be the only 2 conferences left at that point. It's going to be like a Big 3. And maybe eventually, much to the chagrin of the Big 12 people, it may end up being just the Big 2. I'm an SEC guy, and we'd be included, but I'm not a real big fan of that either. I just don't want a monopoly for 2 conferences. I'm just not a big fan of that. But if they got those 4, who would the SEC go after at that point? Virginia Tech, North Carolina State, Georgia Tech, Pittsburgh. I don't know. Notre Dame. There's been discussion. People laugh at it, but there's been discussions that Notre Dame, to try to get some kind of badge and have something over the other Big Ten schools, and if they were going to go into a conference instead of being on a level playing field somewhat with them, both having Big Ten badges, they'd have a little something different to offer in the SEC badge. But I think that's a little far-fetched. It's going to be a mess. From what the Athens is saying, in the next couple of weeks, we could see a huge shakeup. Maybe not really a mess. That might have been the wrong word, but we may be seeing the formation of those mega conferences that we talked about. Maybe 3 24-team leagues, maybe even more. But who would they go after? Who would get what, in y'all's opinion? Would the Big Ten be able to get all 4 of those and trump the SEC? Or would it be sort of in the middle and both of them get 2 and 2 that they really want? I think that the more you hear about Florida State to the Big Ten, the more and more it sounds like it may be something they're looking at. So I could see Florida State and Miami being taken by the Big Ten. And then the SEC taking North Carolina and Clemson. Now, if the Big Ten decides they want North Carolina, that's going to be a fight. I'll be honest with you. I'm an SEC guy. We're one of the strongest conferences in America. I just don't know if we can win that fight with the Big Ten and their money. So they may get North Carolina. The SEC may get Clemson like they want out of those four. They may win that one battle and then have to go get Virginia or Virginia Tech, possibly NC State at that point. If the Big Ten didn't get all four of those, or only got two of those four, I think that the Big Ten would take Florida State and Miami, Oregon and Washington. That'd be four teams. And then if they wanted that sixth team to, how many would that make them? If they got Oregon and Washington, that'd be 16, right? They got USC coming. And UCLA, that's 16. And then North Carolina, well, not North Carolina, but Washington, Oregon make it 18. And then if they got two ACC, see, them acronyms are screwing me. Two ACC schools at that point, whether it be Florida State and Clemson, Florida State, Miami, they'd put them at 20. So they may stop there for a little while. But if they wanted to go to those 24 teams, which I think down the road, that's probably going to make much more sense. If you had 3 24-team leagues, you have 72 total. The other four that they would get at that point would probably be, if they couldn't get those four that them and the SEC are both targeting, the other two, they would probably match up with Florida State and Miami. If the SEC got North Carolina and Clemson, like I said, they'd probably try to go after Virginia, and then maybe Pittsburgh, and maybe they can get Notre Dame on board as well. A lot of scenarios, a lot of shakeup coming in college football. It's got my head spinning. You guys and gals, what you think about all this. And that's all I got to say about that. If you don't mind, there's a little heart down here, a little dollar sign in the middle. Hit that. Throw a one-time donation in the coffers there if you want to. Also, as I said earlier, you can join the Outlaw Posse. It's not $2.99 a month, 75 cents a week. And get saddled up, get mounted up, get your badge, get your 4 horsemen shout out periodically. And with that, I'm out of here. As always, KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.